हरे कृष्ण। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरवनचारी, यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा गिरिधरी राधा गिरिधरी राधे। जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशत श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरण अरविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशत श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की। गंगामयी की, यमुनामयी की, भक्ति देवी की, तुलसी देवी की, कलियुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1, Text number 40. Vrajam stishthan padaikena yathaivaikena gacchati यथा तृण जलौकैवं देहि कर्म गतिं गतः। व्रजं स्तिष्ठन् पदैकेन यथैवैकेन गच्छति यथा तृणजलौकैवं देही कर्मगतिं गतः व्रजंस्तिष्ठन् पदैकेन यथैवैकेन गच्छति यथा तृणजलौकैवं देही कर्मगतिं गतः। देही कर्मगतिं गतः। देहि कर्म
Prajanstishtan padaikena yathaivakena gacchati yathatrana jalam kaivam dehi karma gatim gata
देहि कर्मगतिं गतः। प्रजंस्तिष्ठन् पदैकेन देहि कर्मगतिं गतः। Vrajan, a person while traveling on the road. Tishthan, while standing. Pada ekena, on one foot. Yatha, as. Eva, indeed. Ekena, by another foot. Gacchati, goes. Yatha, as. Trinajalauka, a worm on a vegetable. Evam, in this way. Dehi, the living entity. Karma gatim, the reactions of fruitive activities. Gataha, undergoes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Just as a person traveling on the road rests one foot on the ground and then lifts the other, or as a worm on a vegetable transfers itself to one leaf and then gives up the previous one, the conditioned soul takes shelter of another body and then gives up the one he had before. Purport. This is the process of soul's transmigration from one body to another. At the time of death, according to his mental condition, the living being is carried by the subtle body, consisting of mind, intelligence and ego, to another gross body. When higher authorities have decided what kind of gross body the living entities will have, he is forced to enter such a body, and thus he automatically gives up his previous body. Dull-minded persons who do not have the intelligence to understand this process of transmigration take for granted that when the gross body is finished, one's life is finished forever. Such persons have no brains with which to understand the process of transmigration. At the present moment, there is a great opposition to the Hare Krishna movement, which is being called as brainwashing movement. But actually the so-called scientists, philosophers and other leaders in the Western countries have no brains at all. The Hare Krishna movement is trying to elevate such foolish persons by enlightening their intelligence so that they will take advantage of the human body. Unfortunately, because of gross ignorance, they regard the Hare Krishna movement as a brainwashing movement. They do not know that without God consciousness, one is forced to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Because of their devilish brains, they will next be forced to accept an abominable life and physically and practically never be able to liberate themselves from the conditioned life of material existence. How this transmigration of the soul takes place is very clearly explained in this verse. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. My humble obeisances to all the devotees present here, His Grace Dravida Prabhu, Maharaj, and all the other Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis and children. Thank you so much for your presence here. Today we are discussing from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, continuing from where we left yesterday. The context, as we discussed yesterday, is that Vasudeva is counseling Kamsa. Kamsa was in bodily conception. He was identifying himself with his material body, and to protect that material body, he was not even hesitating to destroy the body of his sister, Devaki Mata. This over-identification with the material body, attachment to the material body, eagerness to enjoy pleasures on a bodily plane, that's the source of entanglement of the conditioned soul in this world. Why the soul is transmigrating from one body to another body? Why the soul has to suffer this birth, death, old age, disease in this material world, life after life? Because of bodily attachment, because of bodily identification. This is called false ego. Ego basically is a sense of identity. False ego is when you have a false sense of identity. What is that false sense of identity? I am this body. That is a false sense of identity. Whoever is identifying themselves with their bodies, they have false ego. But whoever is identifying themselves as spiritual beings, servants of Krishna, they have true ego. That's the real ego. I am a servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarupahe Krishnera Nitya Das. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivaamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. Krishna said, Mama eva amsho jiva loke. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 7th shloka, Krishna says, Mama eva amsho. All the jivas are my amshas, my parts and parcels, my fragmental parts. Krishna is spiritual in nature. We, being his amshas, we are also spiritual. Krishna is Satchidananda, we are also Satchidananda. But the only difference is, he is infinite, we are infinitesimal. He is like an ocean, we are like drops of ocean. He is like big fire, we are like sparks of fire. But qualitatively, we are same as Krishna. He is spiritual, we are spiritual. He is eternal, we are eternal. So, the purpose of human life is to understand our eternal spiritual identity, our qualitative oneness with Krishna, despite the quantitative difference. But without understanding our own spiritual nature, without realizing our eternal spiritual connection with Krishna, if you are too caught up in the bodily pleasures and pains, in bodily conception, we have to transmigrate the way the shloka describes. Yesterday also something similar is mentioned, right? Prabhupada writes in the purport very graphically. People think that when the body dies, everything is gone. That's the end of our life. But they can't understand the existence of the soul beyond the change of material bodies. Say somebody is 10-year-old. Before 10 years, the person did not exist. Or he may live for next 80 years. And after 8 years, will he cease to exist? No. The soul's existence is beyond these two events of birth and death and everything that happens between birth and death. The soul is spiritual. This birth and death are applicable only to the body, not to the soul. Jatasya hi dhravo mrityar dhravam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyerthe natvam shochitum arhasi. One who has taken birth has to die. And one who has died has to take birth, if he is not liberated, of course. If he is liberated, then after death there is no birth. But if he is still attached to a material body, definitely there is rebirth after quitting one body. Right? These are basic teachings of Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, which are being repeated in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, 1st chapter. You may say, oh, we have entered 10th canto, let's enter into rasa, deep rasa. No, 10th canto again begins with the basic teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Again, you are not the body or the soul. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. न जायते, the soul has no birth. म्रियते, the soul has no death. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः. We studied in Bhagavad Gita so many times. The body is never alive. The soul is ever alive. Means soul has no birth or death, and the body is always a dead matter. But as long as the soul, spirit soul, is inside the body, body starts moving, body starts growing, body shows transformation, right? So the source of the body's movement or animation or growth or transformation is the soul's presence inside it. Otherwise, body is simply a combination of dead materials. Earth, water, fire, ether. Bhumi rapo nalo vayuhu khammano buddhireva cha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakritirashthada. So this body is simply a combination of earth, water, fire, ether. Problem is, when we over-identify ourselves with our bodies, and when we start respecting ourselves because we have healthy bodies or wealthy bodies or beautiful bodies, that is actually not self-respect. That is self-disrespect. Self-disrespect. The greatest self-disrespect is to consider oneself as body. Because my body is strong, I am great. My body is healthy, I am great. My body is beautiful, I am great. Or another form of disrespect towards others is to identify them as bodies. Right? Everybody is a soul, servant of Krishna. The greatest respect you can give to another person is to identify them as servants of Krishna. The greatest self-respect, the greatest respect that you can give to yourself is identifying yourself as a servant of Krishna. Right? Soul's identity is servant of Krishna, isn't it? When you really identify the soul, whether yourself or someone else, as a servant of Krishna, then you are actually respecting the souls. You are respecting yourself or respecting others, right? By identifying them as servants of Krishna. But unfortunately in this material world, my God, when you call people as servants, they feel it's disrespect. I am not servant. I want to be master, proprietor, controller, enjoyer, boss, not das. So, people, they consider it very disrespectful to call them servants, call themselves servants, or when they address others as servants also, they feel it's very disrespectful. I'm not a servant. But eternally we are servants of Krishna. Ayinanda tanuja kinkaram. We are kinkaras. But when you identify them as bodies, you say, oh, your body is so beautiful. You are so strong. You are so sweet. You are so cute. You are so handsome. You are so beautiful. They feel, oh, he's respecting me because he's appreciating my bodily beauty. Your body is very strong. So when you say something like that to someone, they feel, oh, they're respecting me. Right? Janma Aishwarya Shrutashribhir. But it's a disrespect to see someone else as their bodies. And it's a greater disrespect to see those bodies as object of our enjoyment. right? When we consider our bodies as source of our enjoyment, that's disrespect. That's illusion. Body is not a source of pleasure, right? It may give some temporary sensual pleasure. But as spirit souls, we are supposed to enjoy happiness on a spiritual plane. As spiritual beings, our happiness lies in Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam. So when a spirit soul who is supposed to enjoy spiritual activities of serving Krishna, if such a soul is enjoying some bodily happiness, sensory happiness, degraded happiness, it's an insult, it's a humiliation, it's a disrespect to the soul, isn't it? But because of illusion, the soul thinks that bodily pleasures are great pleasures. Bodily appreciation is great appreciation. Respect on a bodily plane is the greatest respect I receive. Enjoyment on a bodily plane is the greatest enjoyment. That's illusion. And when you see other people as their bodies and start disrespecting them, and worst thing is seeing others' bodies as object of our enjoyment. Many people, they see others' material bodies, so-called beautiful bodies, as source of enjoyment. They see them as objects, not people, not souls, not parts of Krishna, not servants of Krishna, but they see them or their bodies as source of enjoyment, source of my enjoyment. That's the greatest form of disrespect you can give to anyone else. Pumsam striyam mithuni bhavametam. And Prabhupada writes in the 5th canto purports, Rishabhadeva's purports, my God, very heavy shlokas, very enlightening shlokas. This material world is running because of this attraction between male and female. What is this male and female? Basically body. A male in this life can become a female in the next life. A female in this life can become a male in the next life. But now that they are in male bodies or female bodies, they are identifying themselves as males and females and they are getting attracted to each other, trying to exploit each other's bodies. That is illusion. That's disrespecting the soul. Right? Kamsa is in that mode. To protect his body, to continue his bodily enjoyment, he wanted to kill his own sister. No compassion, no respect, no shame. When such materialistic bodily activities are done, one has to move from one body to another body. That's what the shloka is. Vrajam stishthan padaikena. Just like a person is walking, right? When he walks, he lifts one foot and places it on the ground and lifts the other foot. And then he places that on the ground and lifts the previous foot and places that on the ground. Like that he just moves from one place to another place. That's how, and we don't even realize. If this boy is asked to go out and then get some water or get some object from there, he'll just immediately go, effortlessly he walks. He may walk 20 steps or 30 steps or 100 steps. He doesn't even realize, so effortlessly it happens. He can't even realize and meditate. And that's how the soul is changing bodies. Just as a person is walking, right? Soul is changing bodies. And from now you may say, in this lifetime he spent 100 years, next lifetime he will spend 200 years, next lifetime he may spend 50 years. It's a very long time. It's not long time. On the scale of eternity, our multiple lifetimes are like fractions of second only. Even if you go to heavenly planets, our 6 months is there one day. Right? So our 6 months is there one day. So when we are changing several lifetimes, for these devatas in the heaven, it's like few minutes only or few days only. And Brahma, my God, within one day of Brahma there are 1000 Divya Yugas. Each Divya Yuga has 4 yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. All 4 yugas put together is one Divya Yuga. Like that 1000 Divya Yugas are there in one day of Brahma. So in one day of Brahma, how many lifetimes does a typical average conditioned soul in this earthly planet undergo? Hundreds and thousands, or maybe millions. We don't know. So within one eye blink of Brahma, We are passing through, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 lifetimes. That's how insignificant our birth is and our death is in this world. Even from Brahma's perspective. And Brahma says, I am so insignificant. In the Brahma Vimohana Leela, Lord Brahma went in front of 6-year-old Krishna, folded his hands and said, my dear Lord, you are the source of the source of the source of all universes. In one of your expansions as Mahavishnu, you lie on the causal ocean, and when you breathe out, millions of universes come out of your body. Yasyaika nishvasita kala batavalambhya jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanatha. Jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanatha. All the jagats, all the brahmandas emanate from the bodily pores of Mahavishnu when he breathes out while lying on the causal ocean on a snake bed. And who is that Mahavishnu? That Mahavishnu is a expansion of an expansion of an expansion of Krishna. And Brahma gives a comparison also. How many universes come out of Mahavishnu's body? He gives an example of a window screen, right? During summer or whenever there's some sunshine, open the window. Sunshine enters your room. You look at that sunshine. There are some molecules, right? Small molecules. Can you count them? There are unlimited molecules that come in that little patch of sunshine. You can't count them. Like that, innumerable universes come out of the bodily pores of Mahavishnu, and that Mahavishnu is an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of Krishna. And Brahma says, in one of those molecules, in one of those mustard seeds, in one of those little universes, in one of the tiniest universes, I am Brahma. And I may be the supreme living entity. You see how insignificant am I? If Brahma considers himself so insignificant, being the ruler of one tiny universe amongst millions and trillions of innumerable universes, how insignificant are we in comparison to Brahma? And we think we are great. We think our bodies are great. We think our accomplishments are great. We think our achievements are great. We think we are so talented, we are so skillful. I have great brain power. I have so much manpower, resources. Just based on what we discussed in the last 2-3 minutes, we can realize how insignificant we are. But the problem is, we attribute a lot of significance to ourselves. We think we are great. And that conception of being so great in this world, that too on a bodily plane, is keeping us in this material world and making us transmigrate, just as a person walks. And another example is given by Vasudeva in the same shloka. Yatha trinap jalauka evam. Trina means a leaf or a grass. The Prabhupada says vegetable. Prabhupada writes vegetable. So you have seen small worms, insects. They are going from one leaf to another leaf in a plant. That's how the soul is going from one body to another body. This transmigration is so insignificant. So, when we attribute too much of importance to our bodies and our so-called exciting and exhausting experiences in this world, successes and failures, victories and defeats, and all other kinds of experiences in this world, we are just increasing our tenure in this material world. The process of Bhakti Yoga is a way to end this transmigration cycle. And the most important aspect, the first and foremost aspect of Bhakti is Shravanam, hearing. Etadhiyatura chittanam. Say it. Etadhiyatura chittanam. Matra sparshechaya muhu. Bhavasindhu plavo drashto. Harichiryanu varnanam. Etadhi atura chittanam. People in this world are in great anxiety. Why? Matra sparsha ichhaya muhu. They are constantly trying to bring their senses in contact with sense objects for bodily enjoyment. Bhava Sindhu, it's like being thrown in this ocean of material existence. How to come out of it? Plava, a boat. Plava means boat. Bhava Sindhu plavo drishto haricharyanu vardanam. The boat that takes us, that rescues us from being drowned in this ocean of material existence is Haricharya Anuvarnanam, means the description of Krishna's pastimes, the glories of Krishna. When you describe the glories of Krishna, when you hear Krishna's glories, Krishna's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, that Shravanam, that hearing will save us from this material existence. We have to hear Krishna Katha. One more shloka. Yasyam Vaishruyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktirutpadyate Pumsaham Shoka Moha Bhayapaham. Yasyam Vaishruyamanayam. When you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, when you sincerely hear Srimad Bhagavatam, what will happen? Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktirutpadyate. Our bhakti unto Paramapurusha Krishna, the Supreme Lord Krishna, is invoked in our hearts. By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we develop love for Krishna. And three more things will happen. Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. Shoka means lamentation about the past. Moha means illusion about the present. Bhaya means fear about the future. All three are gone. Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. By hearing Bhagavatam, you get love for Krishna, and your lamentation, your illusion, and your fear are completely dispelled. What else you want? Illusion is to identify ourselves with this body. Fear is protection of this body. Lamentation, oh, something happened to this body. All unbodily conception. To come out of it, just hear Srimad Bhagavatam. That hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam will act as an effective boat that rescues us from the ocean of material existence, the cycle of birth and death. So many beautiful shlokas in Bhagavatam. Pravishtaha karna randhrena svanam bhavasaroruham dhunoti shamalam krishna salilasya yathasharat. Pravishtaha karnarandhrena. When you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and when the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam enters your ear holes, what happens? Along with that sound, Krishna enters the ear holes. Pravishtaha karnarandhrena. Karnarandhrena means ear holes. Pravishta means to enter. Who enters? Krishna enters. Through the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna enters into the ear holes. And what does he do? Svana bhava saroruham. He sits in the lotus hearts of his devotees. And dhunoti shamalam Krishna. While sitting in the hearts of his devotees who hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna cleans their hearts from all anarthas. All the contamination is gone. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, madamatsarya. Our lust, envy, pride, greed, all of them are removed from the heart when Krishna comes and sits there. He cleans the heart. Whenever we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we are inviting Krishna into our hearts. This is the door, and this is the home. Heart is the home, ear is the door. Open the door, two doors are there. Open the door of your ears and allow Srimad Bhagavatam to enter.
They have to both be entrances, otherwise it goes in one ear and out the other.
So we should open the 2 ears. Let there be incoming only from both. No outgoing. Outgoing is there from mouth. Whatever you hear, take it into the heart and speak it from your mouth. Right? So, by doing so, actually, there is second canto shloka. Bile batoru krama vikramanye nasranvataha karna pute narasya. If you don't use these ear holes to hear Krishna Katha, these ear holes are compared to snake holes. When you don't utilize your tongue to glorify Krishna, the tongue is compared to frog's tongue. Frog croaks, right? Can someone make a sound of frog croaking? No, something more accurate. More accurate, yes, you can make. So when frog makes sound, the frog only invites the snake. Frog gives the GPS location of the snake. Frog sends a GPS location. I'm sharing my location. My dear snake, come and swallow me. That's what a frog does by croaking, especially in monsoon season. So when we are not utilizing our tongues in glorifying Krishna, they are like frog tongues. When we are not using our ears to hear Hari Katha, to hear Krishna Katha, they are like snake holes. I'm not saying, Bhagavatam is saying, don't get offended please. Srimad Bhagavatam directly says this. Bile bato arukrama vikramanye, nisarnvataha karna pute narasya. Jihvasati dardurike avasuta, nachopagaya turigaya gatha. These are the shlokas. So we need to utilize our ear holes to hear Krishna Katha. By hearing Krishna Katha, we develop love for Krishna. We develop affection for Krishna. And then we can come out of this transmigration cycle. Cycle of birth and death. Going from one body to another body, one species to another species, one loka to another loka. My God, are we not exhausted? Are we not bored of this transmigration? Same old story again. Again running behind senses. Srila Prabhupada says that we have spent so many lifetimes pursuing sense gratification. Just give one life to Krishna. You don't have to take one more birth. Good deal, isn't it? Just give one life to Krishna to enter the eternal life of Krishna consciousness in the spiritual world. So, and it begins with regularly hearing Krishna Katha. Shravanam. Shravanam has its effect. And where to hear from? From bona fide sources. Prabhupada says that also. He often quotes the shloka. Avaishnava mukhodgirnam putam harikathamritam shravanam naiva kartavyam sarpochistapaya yatha. Avaishnava mukhodgirnam. When you hear Krishna Katha from an Avaishnava, from someone who is not a devotee, that harikathamritam, that nectarian Krishna Katha will have poisonous effects. He gives an example also. Sarpochishta, milk is very nourishing food. But if a snake touches that milk with its sweet lips or sweet tongue, the milk will have poisonous effects. You can't say, this is Mahaprasad of that snake. That snake has eaten this, left some Mahaprasad for me. Let me drink it now. Will anybody even dare to touch it or make some coffee or tea with it? Huh? Another snake. Yes. So, when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhakti philosophy from those who are not practicing Bhakti, from those who are not devotees, those who are not trying to purify themselves, that will not have desirable positive impact on our consciousness. Hear from bona fide sources. Then we can come out of this transmigration cycle. And apart from hearing, we need to apply what we have heard. By hearing, we get knowledge. We accumulate so much of knowledge. But that knowledge is worthy to the degree we put it into practice and convert that knowledge into realization. Jnana means knowledge. Vijnana means realization. And what lies between Jnana and Vijnana? What is present between knowledge and realization? Application. Application converts knowledge into realization. Trying to put what you have learnt in practice converts the theoretical knowledge into practical realization. For example, somebody reads swimming, books on swimming. He has so much of knowledge about swimming, right? How to take this stroke and that stroke and all. But he has to practice it and master it. Just because he studied so many books on swimming, he's not an expert swimmer, only knowledge, right? Somebody has a recipe book with 100 recipes. He has by-hearted all the recipes, but he doesn't know how to cook even one. What's the point? When you are very hungry, who actually helps you? One who has simple non-spicy khichdi in his hands, or one who knows 100 recipes? He has knowledge of 100 recipes with him, but he doesn't have even one morsel of food with him. He cannot make one morsel of food also. So the knowledge is not of much use to you. We appreciate the knowledge, no doubt. But some little dal rice, if somebody has, very simple. It could be cold also. It could be less in quantity also, but that can mitigate your hunger. So when you are saying Sravanam, it's very good. Hear Krishna Katha, no problem, wonderful. But don't stop at just hearing. Don't stop at just gathering information. Convert that information into transformation by application. So whatever we hear, we should make a sincere attempt to practice. Right? We hear, we should worship Krishna. Oh, very good. We should worship Krishna. Are you worshipping? No. I know that worshipping Krishna is good, but I'm not worshipping. We hear a lot about devotional service, but are you doing devotional service? If I say, I'm very thirsty, I need water. Right? I'm saying I need water. I mean, many people heard, but one who has actually heard will go, get up and bring water and give me. That is hearing. Just hearing is information. Okay, that person is thirsty, he needs water. I heard it. Everybody heard it. But you have to bring water and give him, then you're actually hearing, right? Similarly, just Sravanam is not sufficient. Sravanam should follow application. All the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, all the teachings of Bhagavad Gita are not meant to give us some theoretical information for our emotional stimulation or intellectual stimulation. They are meant for practice. Of course, we may not be able to practice everything. We may not be able to put all the teachings in practice overnight, but we need to take our baby steps to put all these teachings of Gita, Bhagavatam in our personal practice, and thus come to a stage of realization. Then we don't have to go through these stages of transmigration. Thank you very much. 8:34. 35. I went 5 minutes extra again. Yes, Prabhu. Please, we are very eager to hear from you.
I would like to offer a verse. If you don't know this verse, you can add it to the repertoire, because I'm sure you would explain this very nicely. It's very pertinent to where we are in the Bhagavatam and what we're going through. We're just getting into the 10th canto. And so this verse is from the 12th canto, chapter 4, text 40. Now, it's not famous, but I think you can make it famous. This chapter is all about different kinds of annihilations. Annihilation of the universe, and even our own personal little annihilation, so it's a very sobering chapter. But at the end here, he gives the the whole nectar verse. So if you permit me, I'll just chant the Sanskrit and I'll read. Sangsara sindhum adi dustanam uttiteshur, there's a verse. Nanyak plavo bhagavatak purushottamasya lila katavasa nishevanam pungso bhaved vivada dukkha dabaditasya. For a person who, this is all of us, for a person who is suffering in the fire of countless miseries and who desires to cross the insurmountable ocean of material existence, there is no suitable boat except that of cultivating a taste, cultivating the transcendental taste for the narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes. So this is, there's various boat verses in the Bhagavatam. They're all important. This one I discovered a month ago.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for making my day by reminding that beautiful shloka. Samsara sindhu ati dustaram utti tirsho. Samsara sindhu is ati dustaram. This ocean of material existence is very difficult to surpass. But utti tirsho, we can easily cross over this ocean of material existence by hearing Krishna Katha, as Prabhuji has nicely said. I heard yesterday your Sikshashtakam that you are singing in Mayapur with His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj on one side, Andhra Prabhu this side, Sachinandan Maharaj on that side, and you are singing with shloka and translation. Yeah, wonderful, Prabhu. I shared with all my friends in GV, Brahmachari Ashram. They all became happy.
There was also a personality who grew up here. His name is Vrindavan Das. Now, he teaches drumming, Ganga mine and everything. And he was sitting there. He looked like he was about 18 at that point. Now he's in
Thank you so much. Any other question, comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for the wonderful class. At the base level, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is giving the foundation that we are not the body, we are the soul. But as we see that there are many schools of thought that get nourished with Bhagavatam according to their perspectives. Like impersonalists also comment on Bhagavatam, personalists also comment on Bhagavatam. So, and ultimately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Amala Purana. So how do we reconcile this? That there are various schools of thoughts who are actually approaching Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is fulfilling their desire and giving them what they are looking for. But at the same time, Mahaprabhu's conclusion is Prema Pumartho Mahan. This is going to give prema. So how do we reconcile these two things?
A farmer puts so much of effort and produces grain, say rice. One cook makes lemon rice out of it. Another cook makes pulao out of it. Another cook makes biryani. Someone else makes curd rice. Someone makes pulihograi. Someone puts some other mode of ignorant substances there in that same rice and brings out some so-called delicacy which is appealing to people who are in tamogun. Somebody makes pakal out of it. So various rice items made from that base rice, some of them are very good, nourishing. You can offer them to Krishna and eat. Some of them are like really harmful to the body also and harmful to the consciousness also. It's all because of the cooks who took this basic ingredient and processed it in certain way to produce some kind of effect, right? Somebody make very spicy, adding the dead bodies into it, the pieces of dead bodies into it, flesh into it, and then processing in a certain way, and then making it very delicious for those who are lovers of tamoguni food, right? And somebody is just nicely preparing sweet rice, paramanna, and offering to Krishna and then giving us Mahaprasad. It depends on the consciousness of the cook. Similarly, base ingredient rice is great, right? It's a wonderful rice, nicely grown by a farmer, nicely cultivated, hopefully, organically, right? Similarly, all the scriptures are there, they are very pure, they are representatives of Krishna, they are the sound representatives of Krishna. But what to do? People misinterpret scriptures. They give their own explanations, they give their own perspectives. They use that scripture's popularity to promote their own atheistic or non-devotional or materialistic doctrines. Unfortunate. And Kali Yuga, such people are more, right? But genuine people will depend on authentic and bona fide explanations of the scriptures. They don't get distracted or diverted by deviant explanations. We need to take shelter of the bona fide purports and commentaries of bona fide acharyas coming in a bona fide Vaishnava line. Then we are safe. Otherwise, even scriptural study which is done not in line with bona fide acharyas could distract us from the intended destination. The scripture is supposed to convey something, and because you are seeing the scripture through the lens of non-devotional explanations given by some people, unscrupulous people, you are missing the message. In my college days, there is one student, he was in PhD, I was in Masters, I think some 17, 18, 19 years back. 2006, I think, almost 20 years back, 2006 or 7, I don't remember. We were working on a drama for our college, some annual function, something like that. And because I already came in touch with ISKCON and Krishna conscious philosophy, I proposed to have a philosophical drama with a message of Bhagavad Gita. Just wanted to promote Bhagavad Gita even through this drama. I wrote the script and I asked someone who is coming from a nice grammatical background, a PhD student who is like at least 5-6 years older to me. I asked him, can you play this important key role in the drama? He said, yes, of course, he will play. I'll play. And I wrote some script and then gave him, and then, but he's not very much excited to present it as it is. They have their interpretation, and somehow we had a discussion on it. You know what he said? Mainly this shloka came up. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. By the time I didn't read Bhagavad Gita completely, but since childhood I have been reciting the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, my understanding of that shloka is Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. There is no one superior to Krishna. There is no truth greater than Krishna. Krishna is the greatest. That's the understanding that I had. You know what understanding he gave me? Mattaha parataram nanyat. No one is different from me. Everybody is God. Here God is saying, he doesn't even say Krishna. God is saying, no one is different from me. Everybody is God. Mattaha parataram nanyat. No little Sanskrit, interpret in your own way. And you find a different explanation, write a different thesis, and then start propagating it. And after few years or few generations, the people start following it. And my God, new sampradaya is brought out with a foundational misunderstanding of a basic shloka. When Krishna said, Mattaha parataram nanyat, our understanding is no one is superior to Krishna. But another person's understanding is no one is different from Krishna. Everybody is Krishna. Everybody is God. They don't say Krishna also. They say God. Everybody is God. Everybody is God. We are all gods. I asked simple question. How can I be God? I have so many shortcomings and I am frail in so many ways. How can I be God? He says, you will realize that you are God one day. Right? You will realize that you will God one day. Now you cannot realize. My God. God doesn't realize that he is God at one point. And God realizes that he is God at some point. Right? And he says, even if I tell you now, I cannot understand. You cannot understand. No argument for me. Even if he explains to me, I cannot understand it. Because I have not realized that I am God yet. But he realizes that he will realize that he is God one day. That is his point. All glories to the distracted, analytical brains of Kali Yuga. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.